Mr. Williams?
Yes, thank you very much, WL, for having me here on this panel of fine gentlemen here and distinguished guests that you have here today. It is not my saying or views that all of us living in North America are descendants of the ancient Egyptians. I'm saying that there's a large portion of us here in this country who are direct descendants of the ancient Egyptians. Also, I want to state that I am an ancient historian. By me being an ancient historian, I come across certain histories that is pertaining to these various religions, such as Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, or Black Hebrewism, whatever you want to make your claim into, whatever religion you want to be identified with. Now, let's get to the origin of Christianity. Any type of religion, no matter what you embrace, an individual should know the origin of these various religions. If you don't know the origin of these various religions, then you won't know anything about these various religions, because then you put yourself in a state of being a believer by way of faith. The foundation of all religion is faith, and the definition of faith is unquestionable belief. In other words, the believer who has faith in a religion don't question anything about these various religions. So therefore, they won't know anything about these religions historically. And the historical aspect is very, very important. Now, let's take Christianity, for instance. The image that's known today as Jesus Christ was created in ancient Egypt by the Melkite Coptic Egyptians in 320 BCE. BCE means before the Christian era, or Common Era, whatever term you want to use. I will give you a little synopsis, meaning that when Alexander the Greek came into Egypt in 332 BCE, he tried to get himself admitted into the ancient Egyptian priest society. He was rejected. 9 years later, he was dead. And one of his army generals, Ptolemy I Soter, or Ptolemy I Lagi, called Soter. And the word Soter, S-O-T-E-R, means savior. That is very important, because something is going to happen with the image and the personage of this Ptolemy I Lagi called Soter. Ptolemy I Lagi called Soter tried to get himself admitted into the ancient Egyptian priest society. He also was rejected. But he came up with a devious idea, and that devious idea was to try to get his image put into the ancient Egyptian priest society. So what he did, he found a group or a ancient Egyptian priest society in Memphis, Egypt, and he went to them and he told them, or asked them, make my image into a god. So what they did, they took two of their ancient Egyptian gods, Osiris and Apis, and they made a composite of those two gods, and they came out with the name Serapis. Now they took this name Serapis and applied it to this Ptolemy I Lagi called Soter. So now Ptolemy I has a new title and a new name called Serapis, which is a composite of the ancient Egyptian two gods, Osiris and Apis. In order to make this European image a god, they gave this European Ptolemy I Lagi called Soter the simulated characteristics of Osiris. This is what supposed to have made this image into a god. So he in turn tried to get his image, and his image, let me remind you, his image is of a European with a hairy beard and long flowing hair, the same identical icon of the created creature known today in history as Jesus the Christ. He tried to take that icon image, that created image, and get it accepted into the rest of the priesthood throughout Egypt. They also rejected that image. So what he did in return, or in repudiation of that, or retaliation of that, is that he closed down all the temples throughout Egypt and confiscated all of the ancient Egyptian divine, religious, and divine scroll manuscripts from those temples. And he housed them and stored them into the temple that made his image into a god in Memphis, Egypt. Then you have to realize that every Ptolemy, the word Ptolemy means Greek ruler of Egypt, every Ptolemy who sat on the throne and every Roman ruler who sat on the throne of Egypt thereafter sat on the throne of Egypt, ruling Egypt, representing themselves as being the vicar of this created image, the Serapis image, known today as Jesus the Christ. Then you have to understand something about the Rosetta Stone. The Rosetta Stone has a double meaning. One, they are saying that the Rosetta Stone was created to decipher the hieroglyphic symbolic alphabet of the ancient Egyptians. That's not true because the hieroglyphics has never been deciphered. But the main importance of the Rosetta Stone was that it was a commemorative stone given to Ptolemy V Epiphanes, Eucharistos, and to the Serapis image, thus creating for the very first time in world history a ritual called the Eucharist. Now in the meantime, when the temples throughout Egypt that was closed by Ptolemy, the original Ptolemy, that left a community of ancient Egyptians, or Coptic Egyptians at this time, without any place to worship. Because Ptolemy I Lagi, when he first closed those temples down, he made it against the law for them not to have any or build any places for religious worship. So they are considered by me as being the exterior Coptic religious community. Now you also have a Melkite Coptic religious community who created that image that's known as Jesus Christ, who gave that commemorative stone known as the Rosetta Stone to Ptolemy V, Epiphanes, Eucharistos, and to Serapis. Now this Melkite Coptic Egyptian, they are known as the Uncle Toms of antiquity because they are the ones that went along with the Greeks and the later the Romans for whatever reasons, for their own personal selfish reasons, but yet and still they put upon the ancient Egyptians, or wanted to put upon them a image that was not in their own racial image. They want to put upon them a European, non-spiritual icon, known then as Serapis, known today as Jesus the Christ. This is what they wanted to do. And they fought that for many, many years. Now, I want to remind you, Christianity, by not having a Jesus Christ that ever walked the earth in human form, of any race, creed, or color, Jesus Christ came about by way of a process. And the process, in order for you to understand that process, is that you have to know ancient history. If you are void of the knowledge of ancient history, then you won't know anything about any of the religions, such as Christianity, Islam, Judaism, etc., etc. Now, you have to come back into Egypt and follow the Coptic, exterior Coptic religious community. You will run across in history what is known as the Donatist Schismatic Controversy. The Donatist Schismatic Controversy has a lot to do with Christianity because the Donatist Schismatic Controversy caused the Nicene Council, or the Council of Nicaea I, to come about in 325 ABCE. Also, you have to know something about what is known as the Donatist Schismatic Controversy and the donation of Constantine. The donation of Constantine is very important because Constantine, who was the emperor at that time, he had to find someone to accept this icon image that's known as Jesus Christ today, then known as Serapis, to accept this image.
Does it have any values in our community today?
I can't hear you.
Do these images have values in our community
today? They have no value in our community. They have destructive value. And this is what religion is all about. Because one has to realize that no one was born a Christian. No one was born a black Hebrew Israelite. No one was born a Muslim.
Well, okay, we're not talking about Christianity. We're talking about religion.
Okay, but this is all part of religion. Okay, let me say my piece because you let them say their piece. Okay? Now, then you have to go up to, now don't look at your watch, but you didn't look at your watch for them. Now, you have to go up to the time of Arius. Arius, the donation of Constantine, and the Donatist Schismatic Controversy has a lot to do with the Council of Nicaea that was convened in 325 ABCE by the Melkite Coptic Egyptians. What they did at the Council of Nicaea was to try to get this icon image known as Jesus the Christ.
Walter, can you break that down in layman's terms?
Well, WL, I think I've went far as I can go with the time that I have on this television show to go into the historical origin of Christianity. However, I wrote a book called The Historical Origin of Christianity, whereby I'm saying in that book there's never been a man that ever walked the earth in human form of any race, creed, or color by the name of Jesus Christ. And that book can be bought at the Ancient Egyptian Museum at 3849 South Michigan Avenue. We open on Saturdays and Sundays from noon until 5. But let me move on to make my statement about these other two religions. Now, you heard my statement saying about the Jesus Christ, a non-Jesus Christ. There's also never been a man that ever walked the earth in human form by the name of the Prophet Muhammad. There's never been men that ever walked the earth in human form by the name of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, or Moses. That all religions are man-made, pagan, heathen, occult religions based on mythology. And they all are unnatural religions because no one in the world walking in human form was born with any religion whatsoever.
Well, how do you know this, Walter?
Simply because it is not natural, because you were born with a natural ability to hear, smell, taste, see, etc. Those are natural.
Okay, well, why were these religions created?
They were created for political control.
Okay, now that we've gone beyond the political control, are they doing any good for society? We said in the beginning of the show that most of these religions are designed to raise the spirits of man.
That's not true.
Keep them along, well,
that's not
you
true.
can say it's not true, but I think without religion, most of our jails would be jam-packed right now.
Well, it's already jam-packed right now.
Jam-packed.
It's already jam-packed. So religion has failed the population of the world. Religion was brought into South Africa. It didn't save the South Africans. Okay, religion was brought into Egypt. It didn't save the ancient Egyptians or the Africans throughout the continent of Africa. They're still under bondage. Religion will do one thing among many. One, it will put you into bondage. When you embrace a religion, you're putting yourself into bondage. That's all you're doing. The rituals will put you into bondage. It's not natural because you were not born with a religion. You were born with a divine spiritual birthright. And that divine spiritual birthright is your indwelling spirit that's inside of you at this very moment, given to you by the she he created by using your mother and father as human instruments to bring you forth into this world in human form. At that time, the she he created gave you an indwelling divine spiritual birthright that was hooked up, in tune, and in place with the spiritual consciousness and the spiritual rhythm of the universe. Has nothing to do with a man-made religion. Man-made religion is just like smoking cigarettes, using alcohol, using drugs. It's all the same.
They're certainly all man-made
alcohol, smoking cigarettes, and drugs is the same thing because they were all introduced by man.